Okay, welcome everyone. So, Modest Mouse time. So we're doing the discography of Modest Mouse, and yeah, they've got a new record coming out, so it's really exciting. It's a great time to do this, and one thing I got to get out of the way is I'm not going to be including all the demo cassettes that they put out prior to This Is a Long Drive for Someone with Nothing to Think About. Because they're so lo-fi. I don't think they were intended for the public. They're only available on cassette. You can hear them on YouTube, but they wouldn't even really factor into the ranking that much. So yeah, Tube Fruit, All Smiles and Chocolate, 1993. That's not going to be in. Uncle Bunny faces useless analogy involving distance freight trains and half-ripe limes. It doesn't matter, limes are sour either way. That's actually the title. That's not going to be included. Mouthful of Lost Thoughts, no, and Sad Sappy Sucker choking on a mouthful of lost thoughts. Which is, I think, the same thing repackaged because the cover art is essentially the same. So, though I will be including all the EPs because Modest Mouse have a very confusing discography where they only really have six main event albums, main event studio albums, but some people might include Sad Sappy Sucker in there from 2001, which is already confusing because they had Sad Sappy Sucker choking on a mouthful of lost thoughts, one of the demo tapes. So anyway, gonna try my best because I love this band and I love the whole discography. I don't think out of the main event albums there isn't anything bad. So yeah, because I'm including the EPs in that, I'm gonna include Blue Cadet 3, Do You Connect? So that'll be our number 13 here. It was a vinyl only release. It's very limited, and a lot of the tracks resurfaced later on compilation EPs and LPs with more tracks added to the four. And it's a nice brisk listen, and it's kind of a refinement of what they would do later. It's just cozy, it's lo-fi, the songwriting isn't quite there yet for Isaac Brock, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting, very interesting little vinyl rarity, I guess you could say. Number 12, I'm putting Sad Sappy Sucker, which is basically a bunch of the demo, not demo material, but a lot of the single material, plus some other stuff, so it's actually really quite good. Highlights on it are Worms vs. Birds, Four-Fingered Fisherman, which would be covered by Sun Kill Moon a few years later, and that's one of the best songs here. And also, It Always Rains on a Picnic. Everyone always chooses that one, and I can kind of see why, definitely. Number 11 will be The Fruit That Ate Itself, and yeah, it's just, it's not quite as refined as the ones, around it. I think that's the only reason why I would rank it so low. Number 10 will be No One's First and You're Next, which is kind of just a, it's almost cheating, because it's kind of a compilation of non-album singles, sort of from between the, I think it's kind of the We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank times. And so you got King Rad and Autumn Beds and Whale Song, and yeah, a lot of people really like those songs, and it's a good enough little compilation. It's not long enough, because this band has so many non-album tracks. They definitely could have put more than, 8 songs. Yeah, so it's kind of a missed opportunity, and I don't think any of the songs rival any of the best songs that they did, so that's why it's number 10, but it's still worth having, so yeah, I should get on that and have it. It's got the B-side to this, Float On. It's got the B-side, which is called I've Got It Almost, which is kind of like a bonus at the end there, because it's not from that era. Number 9 is going to be Good News for People Who Love Bad News, and of course this was the kind of breakout, and because Moon in Antarctica was so revered and acclaimed, and I think Pitchfork loved it, and all the hipsters and the hip crowd loved it. You know, I started to hear about them then, and I picked it up, and I didn't get it right away, but then eventually I really got it, and I thought it was really good. And then this came out, and then all of a sudden Float On was out, and it was everywhere. And you know, I'm sure a lot of fans came to start to dislike it, like longtime Modest Mouse fans, though it did win them, you know, millions of new fans, which is great. So this is their second release for Epic, and yeah, Float On really kind of established the band as being, you know, this big thing, and, you know, allowed them to become kind of a legacy band and a touring band. And, you know, I probably wouldn't put it in my top 20 or 30 Modest Mouse songs, but man, it's a great song, and so catchy and everything. World at Large is on here. Thankfully, when I saw them live, they played that, because I think that's the highlight of the record. Also, when I saw Broken Social Scene, they played that one. Ocean Breeze Salty, of course, great single. Almost shouldn't have been a hit, because it doesn't have anything like hit material about it, but I'm glad it became a hit, and it was played on the radio a lot. I think, yeah, those are the highlights. Bury Me With It is a cool Pixies-ish song. That's obviously a big compliment. Yeah, it's not at all a bad record. I just think out of all the 6 Main Event albums, as I was saying, it's the weakest. Like, I always factor in consistency for records, and I don't think this one is as consistent. Like, you know, the 3 or 4 tracks I mentioned are the high highs, and there's nothing too low, but there's just some songs where you're like, you know, okay, yeah, whatever. Number 8 is Interstate 8, which is fitting enough. And, of course, the title track is definitely one of the highlights off it. And it was reissued on vinyl, and they included the Live at Sunburst, Montana, which is, I guess, a lot of demos, mostly. Yeah. I think I've only heard that once, but I've heard the actual EP, the main 5 songs a lot. Sleepwalking is really cool and chill. Tundra Desert is probably my other highlight with Interstate 8, and Edit the Sad Parts is just classic Modest Mouse, you know, you can't go wrong with that one. So, yeah, I gotta pick myself up a vinyl copy of that one. Number 7, We Were Dead Before the Ship Even Sank. And, yeah, this is when we start to get into more classic material, I guess, in my opinion. Opens up strong with March into the Sea. You got Dashboard on there, which was a huge hit. Florida, of course. James Mercer from the Shins is on that one. Parting of the Sensory is great. Missed the Boat was the second biggest hit. It's probably my least favorite song on the record, but it's nothing to scoff at, and I can see why people like that song so much, for sure. We've Got Everything. Again, James Mercer is all over that one with Isaac Brock. Fly Trapped in a Jar, that would be one of my highlights. Education is a huge highlight. Demon Genius, Spitting Venom. Probably those 4 songs, from Fly Trapped in a Jar all the way to Spitting Venom, if you just take out Little Motel. As good as it is, it's a nice, tender song. Those are probably my 4 highlights, but Dashboard is amazing. And, yeah, probably, I don't know, Invisible. Invisible is probably my second least favorite song, but that line, "You're not invisible inside your car," I always think of that. And whenever I see, you know, drivers that are, you know, yelling at people or angry or making just a bad move, I'm thinking, dude, you're not invisible inside your car. Like, so, yeah, there's not really a bad song on that record. It's a really cool record for sure. Number 6, make sure I got these right. Obviously I don't. Building Nothing Out of Something. So technically this is kind of a compilation, and again we're seeing Interstate 8 again, but because it's a compilation of B-sides and not a hits compilation, I always put those in the rankings, because with a lot of these bands they actually rank quite high, and it's because this was a very fruitful era for Modest Mouse. You know, this came out in 1999. I feel like a lot of their greatest stuff came out in the very late 90s, early 2000s, and man, you know, Gray Ice Water, Sleepwalking, which I talked about on the Interstate 8 one, Medication, Never Ending Math Equation. Wow. That's definitely one that, you know, probably if someone's like thinking about checking out the band, that would be one I put on a mixtape or something. So that's just a great little compilation, or big compilation, that one. Next up is going to be, and you know, this and Building Nothing Out of Something, you could go either way, but these are just amazing tracks from the Moon and Antarctica era. So, you know, a lot of them are almost as good as stuff that came off Moon and Antarctica, to be honest. You're the Good Things, a different version, I guess, of I Came as a Rat, and this one has in parenthesis, Long Walk Off a Short Dock. Yeah, and I think the highlight is probably, or the highlights, the first two songs, Willful Suspension of Disbelief and Night on the Sun. So, yeah, I kind of knocked around the idea back and forth. Should I put this first, or Building Nothing of Something? Which one should I put first? So yeah, that's why I ranked it like that. So next up is going to be Strangers to Ourselves. And this is number 4. And a lot of people wouldn't rank that one this high. But yeah, I was completely happy when this came out, and I still love it. I love the chill first cut into Lampshades on Fire, which I always think is a really hype song. You know, Pistol is completely weird, but that's okay. And the Ground Walks with Time in a Box, which is almost like Talking Heads-ish. Pups to Dust is cool. Be Brave is very powerful. I like that one. God is an Indian and You're an Asshole is a great little sort of short, it's kind of a transitional song into The Tortoise and the Tourist, which is great. The Best Room. Yeah, I always thought this was a really solid album. I really like this one a lot. I'd say Sugar Boats is probably the low light. And then now we get into the top 3, where it's all highlights on these records. There's no lowlights. So number 3 is This Is a Long Drive for Someone with Nothing to Think About. And of course this, it's the first official release, so not demos or anything. And this one has Dramamine on it, which is an absolutely incredible way to start a career, and remains one of their best songs. Ohio's cool, Talking Shit About a Pretty Sunset, Make Everyone Happy into, or slash I should say, Mechanical Birds, which really gets going. Head South is cool and spastic. Dog Paddle is the one where all the band trades instruments. Okay, that was a bad edit. So yeah, so Head South, Dog Paddle, where they all trade instruments, and yeah, so that's number 3 right there. Number 2, and I say this in so many videos now because I love all these bands so much, but you could really go, you know, you could really swap out 2 and 1. Like tomorrow maybe this could be my number 1, and you know, the next day it could revert back, because they're both so strong, and they're, you know, 5 out of 5 albums. You know, I can definitely say that. What's funny about this one, number 2, The Moon and Antarctica, this is their first album on a major label, and what a statement it is. What's funny about it, though, is the text is all blurry. I had never realized that before. Anyway, if there's one CD that I need to upgrade to LP, it's probably this one. So yeah, so like I said before, this was the first thing I bought from Modest Mouse, and I remember at the time I really liked Third Planet, and I really liked Dark Center of the Universe, which was the only song I heard prior to buying it. And yeah, the rest didn't really click with me, and then you know, some time went on, I put it on again, I liked a couple more songs. Time went on, I put it on again, I liked a couple more, and then like the whole midsection where it goes The Cold Part into Alone Down There into The Stars Are Projectors, and I'm like, wow, you know. And then it really started to dawn on me how brilliant this is. Like, this is like Kid A by Radiohead brilliant. Um, just the feeling of isolation and yeah, just the loneliness in Isaac's lyrics and stuff like that. I don't know. He really captured something special and very relatable, but it's also kind of spacey, and it straddles that line really well. So it never seems like whiny or poor me, but it also seems like, wow, like I can relate to what this guy's writing. And the crazy thing about Isaac Brock is he writes a lot of his lyrics when he's drunk. And I'm not even like, he's said that multiple times. Like, he's not ashamed of saying that. It's like, wow, why is he so smart when he's drunk? And when I'm drunk, I'm like, hey, party time, everyone. Um, yeah, but, you know, what can you even say is the highlight? Like, the first 3 songs or so are just perfect. Tiny City Made of Ashes, amazing. Isaac really lets it all out there. Different City, yeah, and that whole it's almost like a suite, you know. For me, it's hard to put this album on random or put these songs in playlists that I would press random because the cold part into Alone Down There into the Stars of Projectors, that should always be played in succession in my opinion. It works so well and builds up and everything, and then everything retracts back into Wild Pack of Family Dogs, and which is a nice, quaint, short little thing. Paper Thin Walls, wow. This one, it's on a major. It didn't really produce that many singles, if any. Um, Paper Thin Walls probably should have been a single. Same with A Different City, I guess. And maybe Dark Center of the Universe. But yeah, they weren't a band that did like album singles. And you'd think going on to Epic, which is owned by Sony, you'd think that they would have tried to promote this a little bit more. But word of mouth and everything really helped this one. And it remains a classic in the discography and a high watermark for not just Modest Mouse discography, but you know, all these indie rock bands and everything. So yeah, so that's an amazing one. And then of course, yeah, if you do Process of Elimination, Lonesome Crowded West. And everything I said about the lyrics of isolation and everything is just, that works tenfold for this one. And even more so because you don't have all the spacey lyrics and everything. Yeah, opens strong with Teeth Like God's Shoe Shine. Yeah, I gotta put my teeth back on in. Which, you know, comes storming out of the gate and then gets really kind of gentle for a little while, and then boom, it's back. I believe it's about 7 minutes or so, but it just rushes right by every time I listen to it. Heart Cook's Brain is amazing. You hear some little DJ scratches on that one. Convenient Parking. I mean, here they're really using that kind of Pixies influence, the loud, quiet, loud progression, and just nailing it. Lounge is amazing. Jesus Christ Was an Only Child. It's those wall-to-wall classics. Long Distance Drunk always hit me hard. I love that. Trailer Trash. What was probably, maybe not my favorite, but definitely in my top 3 or so, Shit Luck is probably the weakest one here, but it rocks. It's just, I don't think the song means as much as some of the other songs. It's just, you know, Isaac screaming at the top of his lungs, "This building's totally burning down, and this plane is totally crashing," and all that. But, you know, it's effective, it works. But then it's followed by one of the best things they ever did, Trucker's Atlas, which goes into this whole kind of militant drumming thing laid down by Jeremiah Green, who I should have, probably should have mentioned before, but yeah, definitely one of the best drummers in the biz. And, you know, when he went away from Modest Mouse, that was really sad, but then he's come back again. So, yeah, Trucker's Atlas is just a high watermark in the discography, and this one, like, that one's about 14 minutes or so, and Man, it's an amazing song though. And it really goes off at the end there, into this whole kind of almost meandering thing, where it almost seems like they're stuck in a loop, but these, funny samples, they're sampling themselves come in, and it's really trippy, and it's weird. It's so good. And then Polar Opposites. Yeah, love that one. Yeah, so that is number one. And this is kind of sad, but it's the only Modest Mouse that I have on LP form. And I really got to remedy that. I've been saying that for years, but now that there's a new album approaching, it's like I'll probably get it there. Get some of the back catalog, and the new album's going to be in the mail in a very short couple weeks' time. This is the only album I've bought where it comes like this. Like, it's not a gatefold or anything. They just A-side, B-side there. And A-side, B-side of record 2 here. It's interesting, but like for storage, it's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say dumb, but nonsensical. And then anyone who's watching this who likes Modest Mouse as much as I do, and hasn't heard of Ugly Casanova, you gotta check out this. It's the closest Isaac's got to like a solo career. Of course, he did assemble a band for this one. Came out on Glacial Pace Records, which is of course his record company, and came out in 2002. So right between the major label debut and the breakout success of Good News for people who love bad news. And it's a great record. It's better than Good News for people who love bad news, in my opinion. It doesn't rock as hard because it's not like a rock record, but if you like kind of singers, it's kind of like singer-songwriter, but with weirdness, with the, established Isaac Brock weirdness. Definitely check this out. It's well worth listening to. Completely worth having. And yeah, so yeah, Modest Mouse, obviously a really hard band to rank, because it's like, what do you put in your ranking and what don't you? And I didn't even do Baron Von Bullshit Rides Again, which was their live record. But yeah, amazing band. I know that a lot of people argue over the Angular first few LPs, which are very kind of more abrasive and kind of lonely, and then the new ones, there's like dance rock influence and all this other stuff, and some people like one and don't like the other. A lot of, their old fans don't like the new stuff, and yada yada yada. For me, it's all good, it all has merit, but those, my top three, in my opinion, are the classics. But Strangers to Ourselves, love that one. So stoked for the new one, just so stoked. And I know a lot of people don't like the first single, a lot of people really don't like the second one, but when I heard those, I was so happy, and I just played them over and over, and they were so catchy. The first one really rocks really hard. The second one is such a catchy pop song, and just another new development for the band. So I, for one, am really looking forward to it, if you can't tell already. So thanks for watching, everyone. Peace out to you guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Adios.